What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today we are reviewing this 2023 Alfa Romeo Giulia. Now, this is my personal car. If you haven't seen the video of me picking up this thing, it was a great video and a great time, so definitely go check that out. I will link it down below. But nevertheless, this is my brand new car. It is a 2023 Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint, so this is technically the base model for the Giulia lineup, but as you'll see in a little bit, this has some really nice features on it, and you wouldn't be able to tell really, besides a few different things, that this is the base model. So let's start with the nitty-gritties at the front. So this is obviously painted in the same Alfa Rosso that I had on my 2017 Giulia, and as you can see, it looks fantastic in the sun. It's not really a metallically flecked paint, but it's just a nice glossy red that shines really well in the sun. Now, on this Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint, we have, as standard with the 2022 and up models, the kind of sport front bumper and fascia here, which just kind of mimics the quadrifoglio style a little bit, gives it a little more aggressive intake on the bottom there, and just makes it look that much sportier and, in my opinion, better in the front end. And you also get this blacked out finish for the V Scudetto here in the very front grille as well. So when you take a step back, very, very sharp looking car. Now, if we move on to the side here, take a look at the rims. We have a nice square setup on this Giulia, as this is the all-wheel drive model. So we have 18-inch rims on the front and the rear with two 25 section Continentals. Behind that are, I don't know if you can see, silver painted calipers there with the Alfa Romeo script. And overall, these are pretty nice rims. Same rims I had on my Giulia previously as well. You can option, if you go for something like the Veloce or the Estrema models, 19-inch rims, either the quadrifoglio style with the dark finish or the silver kind of telephone dial 19-inch rims as well. Now, coming along to the side of the car, as we can see, this is something I have additionally put on carbon fiber mirror caps with the little Italian flag. I think that adds just a little bit of pizzazz to the car. But if we take a look at the side profile here, you can see this is a very beautiful and elegantly designed sedan, and it has that kind of shooting brake almost look to it. As an option as well, we also get this kind of flat black trim surround, and you have a gloss black roof, and we'll get into why the whole roof is gloss black later on as well. Moving around to the rear of the car, we have this carbon fiber spoiler, which I have added as well. Same one I had on the other Giulia. Again, you'll be hearing me say that a lot. I'm probably going to do a lot of similar mods to this car that I did to my last one, but I think that one is definitely a must, as it just brings together this whole rear end of this car. You do have the stock diffuser here, but I have the gloss black painted exhaust surrounds there, so that makes it look better. You can, again, if you get the Veloce or the Competizione models, you get a more aggressive rear diffuser there as well. But all in all, I think this is a very, very stunning vehicle. One of the best looking sedans, in my opinion, on the market. And definitely one of the reasons why I chose to go with this thing again. So let's hop inside and take a look at some of the interior features of the Giulia. So if we take a look at the back seat, you see we have this beautiful red on red spec as well for this Giulia, and it really is a very nice color and very nice interior. But we can see on the door panel here we have injection molding up top, very soft, very plush. You can option leather with stitching in the higher model Giulias as well. We have this nice dark wood grain finish, leather down here, some harder plastics, but all in all, very nice. And now you have these beautiful leather seats here, red, perforated. You have heated seats in the back in this Giulia, and as you'll see in this particular car, even though it's a Sprint, we pretty much have a Veloce style interior. So minus some leather, some leather additions here or there, this is pretty much what you can expect in the top trim Giulia. So we have this beautiful, nice red leather. It is a little bit cramped in the back, can be tight. Fits more of like 4 adults versus 5 people. You could squeeze it in, but it's not the biggest in terms of size in this category, but it's definitely on par. Now let's take a look up front and see how it compares up here. Now opening it up, you can see we have a beautiful, beautiful designed interior. Again, same kind of materials carry over to the front door panel, but if we just take a seat inside and we just turn the Giulia on a little bit, wake her up, and we have a nice look around here, you can see this is a beautiful, beautiful cabin. We have a beautiful leather wrapped steering wheel with some nice features and buttons. You have your cruise control, your start stop right on the steering wheel, volume, and you have beautiful column mounted paddle shifters here that are aluminum and feel great to play with. We'll definitely take a look at those later on. We still have physical analog gauges, and this is something that has remained true in Alfa Romeos until the 2024. This being a 2023 car, and past that refresh, you get a few nice facelift features. But perhaps the biggest difference you get in the 2023 models is a refreshed center console and infotainment system. So if we take a look at the infotainment, beforehand in the pre-2020 Giulias and Stelvios, you had an infotainment system that was not touchscreen. It was controlled by this kind of rotary dial here and some buttons and switchgear down here. Now you do have a nicer and bigger touchscreen that has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, although those are wired, but you get the wireless Bluetooth and all sorts of good stuff like that. You can see your driver assistance pages, which this car is loaded with features of driver's assistance, and we'll get onto that when we take the car for a ride. But you can see your climate. You can even check out performance pages, which I think are pretty cool. So you can take a look at where the power is being sent in your all-wheel drive system. You can take a look at some boost gauges and all sorts of cool things that are riddled in this infotainment system. So it's really clever, pretty responsive, and it's definitely a big upgrade from the system that was in the 2017 model. Alfa has also reworked the center console. We have a brand new shifter here in the center, which is leather wrapped and really nice. We have some nice weighted buttons down here that have been switched up, and you even have a spot for your phone, which is wireless charging, and a new slot for your key as well, which is super, super nice. And of course, I can't forget to mention these beautiful sport seats, which are optioned on this Giulia, but come standard on Veloce and even Quadrifoglio models. They look really good, and they definitely hold you in when you're driving on the road. They're heated just like the steering wheel, but they do not come ventilated. Another great feature about this Giulia is if we look up, we have a dual screen sunroof here. Rear passengers get a fixed roof with an adjustable shade. Front passengers get an opening sunroof that slides all the way open with these controls here. And you can actually either pop the sunroof kind of like this, or you can open it all the way, just like so. And you have a beautiful airy cabin. You can actually open even more than that too if you keep holding it. Yep, so it opens pretty much all the way, and you get a beautiful airy cabin with a shade that can also come across and protect you from the sun if you're parking this thing outside or it's just getting way too hot inside the cabin. So all in all, a beautiful interior, very well styled and very ergonomic as well. Now let's go check out the engine and see what's powering this beautiful Giulia. All right, after popping the hood, this is what we have. It's a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that produces 280 horsepower and just over 300 pound-feet of torque. This engine is mated to a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission from Germany, and that makes this car good for a 0 to 60 in right around 5 seconds and a top speed about 150 miles an hour. This is a phenomenal little engine, and it pulls really hard in this car. It's class leading in horsepower as well for its segment. So let's go take a drive and see how this engine feels in this beautiful Giulia chassis. All right, so driving the Giulia. All right, we are going to start off in the normal mode here. This is Alfa's kind of daily driving, comfy mode. And first thing you notice is the supple suspension that this car has. It glides over bumps pretty well. Now there is a bit of a firm edge to everything. You still feel everything. You're not insulated entirely from the road, but that's kind of the point of this car, being, you know, a sports sedan. but you notice that it kind of rides over the road very well, and it kind of sorts out all the bumps that you don't want to feel. You're not getting jostled about. You're not feeling as if you're being tossed around. So it does a very nice job sorting everything out while still feeling relatively responsive and having that kind of firm sports car edge. Now, the next thing you notice in any Alfa Romeo of late is the steering. As soon as you start driving it, the steering is pinpoint precise. Even in the relaxed modes, normal mode, advanced mode, when you're just cruising, any small input does a very, very big amount for the car. The car will change directions very quickly, very confidently, and very precisely as well. And I have to say, Alfa has one of probably the fastest steering racks on the market. Now, when we're just cruising here, throttle response is pretty subdued, laid back. Definitely notice if you're not really pressing into the pedal that the turbo's not really working all that much. You're just kind of relying on the engine and the torque here to kind of crawl you out of some of those stoplights and from stop signs, and it's comfortable. I think it's well balanced. If you really plant your foot in it, it'll then kick down. But transmission is super smooth. The shifts are hardly recognizable, especially in this mode. And everything is just very comfortable and smooth and aimed towards making this a very, very welcomed daily driver. These seats are extremely comfortable. Now, I had a 2017 Giulia with the base seats. They were leather, but they were just kind of flat, not as contoured or as comfy as I would say. And these seats are definitely a true upgrade. They hug you. You can actually adjust these side bolsters as well, which is a super nice feature. So you can have them kind of squeeze in and hug you a little more if you would like, which I do. And this keeps you right in place when you're driving. You feel comfortable. My back and lumbar is supported. You can change these settings for these seats 1,000 different ways. So really anybody can get in this car and feel comfortable sitting in this seat, which I really, really enjoy. Visibility in the Giulia is also really good. I can see out of the back well, the side's great, the mirrors are nice, the front you can tell where the nose of the car is, which is very confidence inspiring. The only thing I would be slightly concerned about is this B pillar here kind of obstructs your vision for lane changes or anything, but you have the mirrors and you can very easily kind of look forward over it without too much issue. So this car is super chill and very easy to drive at slow speeds. This makes it a very, very good daily driver so far. So, I've had the car for about a month or two, and I haven't really pushed it all that much. Now, I know what this car is very capable of, as I've had a Giulia before, but in terms of just cruising around and getting where you need to go, I mean, AC is cold, the infotainment works fantastic, my phone connects up very quickly, I have my music, my directions, you still get the dials, you can flick through different information here so you can see your miles per gallon, your instantaneous MPGs, and kind of you have your lane assist. So everything is, very ergonomic and user-friendly and driver-friendly as well. So very nice and easy to live with. It has all sorts of driver assistance features like the lane keep assist. So if I were to go outside of the lane, it beeps at you, rumbles your seats, has adaptive cruise control, all sorts of good features, blind spot monitoring, everything that you would want in a modern day car, you get. You get a backup camera. Now, that's the one thing that maybe isn't the greatest. It's a little bit lower resolution, but still decent sized camera. I mean, you get all of the basic amenities and then a little more, which I think is perfect for the Alfa Romeo kind of middle range, and especially at this price range where you're getting for a driver's sedan. Now, if you're not familiar at all with Alfa Romeo, this car is built on what's called the Giorgio platform, which is designed by a man that used to work for Ferrari and actually helped design the 458. So this car has a perfect 50-50 weight distribution and balance and a super rigid and tight chassis, which means you can do this all day long and not unsettle the car. That makes the handling on this car very, very good, if not best in class. Actually, let's test the suspension real quick. We're going over some train tracks here. And while I felt that, I was not jostled over my seat. So I think that's perfect for a sports sedan suspension. But anyways, back to the handling. We'll get to some more curvy and better roads hopefully pretty soon so I can test it out. But this car handles really well. The chassis is so neutral. And again, with that precision in the steering, you can just really place this car exactly where you want it. Now, another thing Alfa Romeo did with these 2020 plus cars is they actually made the glass on the windows double paned or double glazed, which means that the cabin inside is very, very quiet. Now, everything in here is very, nice quality. All the buttons, all the feels. So naturally, this car is pretty quiet. I haven't had any rattles or anything of the sorts like that so far. But then you have this kind of double glazing to the windows and the roof and everything and all that, and it makes this cabin feel very premium and very quiet. When you're just cruising along, especially if you don't have any music on or anything, you can't, you can whisper to the person next to you and they'll hear you. So very quiet and well insulated and well built this cabin is. So I definitely have to give Alfa Romeo a +1 on the kind of reliability and quality standpoint, as these newer 2020 plus models definitely feel like they are better quality and have been more time taken into kind of putting these things together. Another thing worth noting in these Giulias is the brakes. So the Giulia has what is called brake by wire, which means it's not a hydraulic brake pedal that actually has a physical connection, but a computer telling the brakes how to clamp and so on and so forth. In the 2017 Giulia, one of the complaints I had was while the brakes had good stopping power and did a nice job actually slowing down the car and inspiring confidence, at high speeds, they were a little bit grabby and kind of hard to modulate, especially around town. Now, one thing Alfa Romeo has tried to do to remedy that is actually fine-tune that brake pedal feel a little bit. So in these facelifted models, they actually feel just a little more modular, a little softer, and while they have the same performance and stopping power, they feel just that much better when you're around town, and they're just easier to kind of modulate. They feel more linear, like a true hydraulic braking setup. So I definitely think that is an upgrade worth noting on these models. It definitely makes this car all around just that much better and that much easier to drive. All right, so now we're going to flick it into dynamic mode, which is Alfa Romeo's kind of sportiest setting. There's also an A mode here, which is basically your eco mode and all that good stuff. But this is the dynamic mode, and we're just gonna stomp on it and see how this car does. And as you can see, this car is properly quick. Now, it is pretty quiet, but it does have a pretty nice exhaust note when you do get it going. You hear more of kind of the engine versus the exhaust once you're kind of on full tilt. But I think for a 4-cylinder, this car has a pretty nice note when you get it going, and it's nothing an exhaust couldn't fix if you like it a little bit louder. But the performance of this car is really, really good. This car gets up and boogies. I mean, just putting my foot down there, the transmission is very, very responsive, and the engine pulls pretty hard. It really likes that mid-range. If you stomp on it from just kind of an idle, it might take a sec for the turbo to spool up and kind of figure out what it's doing. But once you get going, it has this super sweet mid-range that just loves to pull. There's so much torque there that just loves to pull you out of, from a stop, out of a corner, whatever. And this car is really quite quick for what it is. I mean, 280 horsepower nowadays kind of isn't really all that much and doesn't sound like too much, but this car can still boogie. And you can actually have some fun with this thing too. So I'm really impressed with it. Now, I will say that this car does feel slightly softer. Oop. There is one of our warnings as well. You have the emergency braking if it senses you getting a little too close to somebody's bumper. But anyways, I will say that this car does feel just slightly softer than my 2017 all around. But with that being said, I mean, it still feels fantastic to drive. You can still have some fun with this. If we pop it into manual mode, one thing I didn't have in my other Giulia was these beautiful column-mounted paddle shifters that you can wonderfully play with. I mean, they just feel so fantastic. This aluminum click that you get from downshifting is just amazing. And then you put your foot down a little bit, and in manual mode, the shifts are incredibly prompt from this ZF torque converter. It's amazing to me that this transmission, how good it is, because Alfa has tuned this thing to be pretty much perfect. You get the speed almost, I mean, it's just slightly off of that of a dual clutch, and the responsiveness, I mean, pretty much as soon as I pull a paddle, it gives me the gear I want. And you get that responsiveness and the snappiness, and in dynamic mode too, you get a little bit of that punch in the back from the shifts. But around town, you also get that indistinguishable feeling of the shift that's super smooth and relaxed, and you don't even know that the shifts are happening. And it really just does fascinate me, because this car with this transmission is honestly a fantastic setup, and I can't believe more people aren't raving about it. But let's get to some twistier, higher speed roads and kind of push this Giulia a little bit, see what its performance can do, and then we'll give some final thoughts on what I think of this beautiful, beautiful daily driver. Yeah, definitely plenty of performance in the Giulia. It you know, loves to just dart around. This car can change direction so quickly, and that engine is very, very peppy for a 4-cylinder. A lot of people say that this engine is the one thing kind of lacking in the Giulia, and while I admit that the sound is a little bit lackluster, especially compared to the Quadrifoglio when you have that beating Ferrari heart, this car, though, this engine is definitely not uncharacteristic or uncharacterful, because, I mean, this thing has a lot to offer on the plate. It's very peppy. It spools up quick. I mean, and those rapid shifts. I mean, guys, I can't think of a better daily driver, honestly. This car comes in, MSRP is for about $54,000. I paid just under 30 grand for this thing. And for $30,000, I mean, take a look around. I can't think of a better vehicle. I mean, you chuck down a few downshifts, pull the paddle a few times, step on the gas a little bit, and you sit in the lap of luxury while you're having a good time. I mean, to me, this car is one of the best, if not the best, daily drivers, you know, daily driving sedans you can get on the market. I really love it. So, you know, final thoughts. I think this 2023 enhances everything I already loved about the Giulia. It makes it, you know, look a little bit better, makes it a little more comfortable and a little more usable, while maintaining everything that I did love about it. Unfortunately, a lot of the roads that I want to go on, you know, to really test out the handling and all that, are closed. So we're gonna have to kind of cut this video short in terms of the driving. But just know, I mean, you can see it, you can tell. When you turn this thing up, I've never felt a car change so much with the modes. When you put it in dynamic mode, this thing really wakes up and turns into a beast, and it's just a lot of fun to drive. This is truly a driver's car. If you're looking for, you know, a little more technology and a little more luxury and all that, maybe your best bet is to stick with the Germans. But if you're looking for a fun car that looks great, that's a conversation starter, and is something that you're not going to see on the road, something that's different, then this is definitely the vehicle for you. So if you guys enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you thought of this Giulia. Did I make the right choice in buying another one? I love it, but tell me what you think of this Giulia. And if you guys want to see me try to get a 2024 Giulia on the channel and compare the differences between this thing and that, I'd love to do that for you guys as well. So let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching, and trust me, there's going to be plenty more videos with this car, modifying it, all sorts of good stuff, as this is my daily. So can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace out.